Good evening. Welcome to this Experiencing the Buddha's teaching series. And we are on the module of the Noble Eightfold Path. And tonight will be the last session on this topic. And so we have been steadily looking at the different factors that made up the Noble Eightfold Path. So I thought maybe I can start by just reviewing what we have covered so far. Good evening. So feel free to write your comments and questions in the live chat during this session. So we start off with right view, which is in one way is the most fundamental thing. This way of presenting the Buddhist path, the very fundamental thing that we try to, the change that we try to bring about is a change in the view, or sometimes I explain it as a profound change in the perspective. So in our ordinary current way, we are very sort of set in our way. So we have a particular way of looking at things. We view things from a certain point of view, a certain perspective. And this is, in the Buddhist teaching, this is a view that is based on ignorance. So, and we are very stuck with it. It sort of tends to form into a kind of tunnel, like a tunnel vision in which we are trapped in it. In a tunnel, there's very little option. You either go forward or you go backward, and that's it. In fact, you feel that that is the only options available for you, because that's all you can see. You cannot see any other possibilities. Whereas when we experience this shift in the view or perspective, we discover what the Buddha called the right view. It's like the tunnels of somehow disintegrate, open up, and we find ourselves in a completely different space. And we can look at the same people, the same situations and events from a very different point of view, angle, perspective. And suddenly there are so many more options and choices, possibilities, everything sort of open up. So it is a kind of been liberated from limitations that are in some way imposed on us by our ignorance, by our misunderstanding of reality. So that's the right view. And I tend to describe it, this opening up of possibilities, this new perspective is one of seeing things not as fixed and solid, unchanging kind of situations or entities or people, but instead to see things as much more fluid and permanent, and are all interconnected and interdependent on conditions. So sometimes I call it the view of conditionality, to see from the point of view of interdependence on how everything depends on others, other conditions. So that's right view, and based on that right view, we cultivate right intention, which is the next factor. And usually three are listed: loving kindness, compassion, and renunciation. So these three ought to be rooted in that new perspective, that new way of seeing and understanding our life, our reality. To see things as connected, as interdependent, as dependent, ultimately on conditions, ever-changing conditions. And based on that, we've nurtured the quality or the attitude of kindness, or loving kindness, of compassion, of renunciation, which are, these two are like the opposite of craving. Craving, opposite of renunciation. Craving is this holding on, grasping onto something, and the opposite of love and compassion is hatred, which is a rejection, a wish to destroy, to harm, to get rid of. So this holding on to something or the getting rid of other things, these are tendencies that come out of that limited tunnel vision. It's like either move forward or backward. So everything is reduced into those two possibilities, and we become very fixated in our reactions. So in the Noble Eightfold Path, we train ourselves to see things differently, from a different perspective, and nurture a very different set of intention. Nurture kindness, compassion, and renunciation, all which based on the understanding of conditionality of interdependence. And last session, then we move on to look at how these two factors influence the next three, which are related to our ethical behavior. Right speech has to do with how can we use our communication, our speech in a beneficial way for ourselves and others. Right action is how the behavior, the kind of actions, the kind of choices we enter into, how can that be beneficial? And finally, right livelihood, our job, the things that we do to make a living, to support ourselves and others, how even those can embody right understanding, right view, and right intention. Right? So tonight, we're going to look at the last three factors: right effort, right mindfulness, and right, something called right concentration. I prefer to call it right samadhi, the Sanskrit word samadhi. I'll explain them later. But I think it's important, just as right speech, right action, and right livelihood should not seen as like linear, but seen as like a triangle. They describe the three aspects of our expression: expression through speech, expression through behavior, expression through our job, our career choice. So these three are interrelated. Likewise, the last three are also interrelated. Not have to think of them as in a linear way, but see them as like forming a triangle. One corner is right effort, how we make use of the energy of our attention, and of course the energy of our body, of our mind. So right energy, right effort. And another corner will be right mindfulness. How do we make use of our attention, our awareness? And finally, right samadhi. Samadhi, normally people translate as concentration. I try not to use the word because concentration has a very different connotation to people, a lot more narrower connotation. And also we have very negative association with the word concentration. Growing up, studying or doing whatever it is, we are always asked to pay attention, asked to concentrate, and we ourselves struggle, and so, and sort of bring to mind the kind of association. Like to concentrate means it's something very exhausting, to work very hard, and often you're concentrating on things that are very uninteresting. You don't really enjoy them, but nonetheless you need to. And so we always think that once we concentrate so hard, and at the end of it, we are completely wasted, exhausted, and then we may even give ourselves a headache because we are so much muscular tension involved in trying to narrow down our attention, to focus our mind, to stay focused. So all these connotations are very unhelpful. In fact, you can think of samadhi, this state of mind called samadhi, in a different way. Sama means even or in equilibrium, in balance, and di means to hold, to support. To hold and support the mind in a state of balance is a description of a way in which our mind functions. Sometimes I call it a unified mind. It's a state of mind where all the different aspects of it, all the different functions, all working harmoniously together in balance, in support of one another, so that they are all directed towards the common goal. They all aim at the same object or objective, and they are mutually supporting one another, so that they function. Sometimes people relate this to the experience of flow. It's a very smooth functioning, harmonious functioning, which is the exact opposite of sometimes what we experience in our meditation outside, that our mind is in conflict with itself. Different parts of our mind are in conflict with one another, and they are like pulling us apart. Part of our mind say, I want to do this, and the other part say, no, I don't want to do that. One moment we make a resolution to be good, and the next moment we forgot about that resolution, off we go. Our mind seems to have a mind of its own. It's constantly in conflict, the different parts. There's nothing harmonious about it. It's a very fragmented mind. And samadhi describes the opposite. It's a unified mind. All the different parts and aspects are not in conflict with one another, are working harmoniously together. So that is right samadhi. So right effort, right mindfulness, right samadhi is the last triad they want to look at as part of Noble Eightfold Path. And we can see them as, if we see the first two factors, right view and intention, as the training in wisdom. Sometimes that's how they describe training in wisdom. Then the next three factors of speech, action, and livelihood as training in ethical conduct. Then the last triad can be seen as the training of our mind. So much so that not only do we work on how we manifest that view and intention through our speech, through our behavior, through our livelihood, these are the physical and verbal actions. We also work on how we manifest or express the view and intention in the actions of the mind. How our mind functions from day to day, from one moment to another, function in the form of thoughts, in the form of choices, in the form of what we dwell on, what we nurtured with our attention. So this is the training of the mind, training the mind so that the mind can abide and function in the state of samadhi, in the state of unification, in which all the factors are working harmoniously in support of common goal, common aim, objective, and in which energy is used efficiently and without wastage, without conflict, and we are able to give mindful awareness to what is really happening here and now in our life. So this is the subject of tonight's talk and discussion, again based on right view and right intention. Right? So I hope that set the stage for what we're going to talk about this evening. I think maybe let me just give a brief explanation of each of these last three factors. What do they involve? How are we going to see them together? And then, of course, as usual, I would like to do a meditation together, just for us to explore the topic in our own experience, also for us to take this opportunity to develop our own experiential understanding of all these concepts. And so that's what the whole aim of this series, experiencing the Buddha's teaching, having our own personal direct experience of the different ideas and concepts presented within Buddhism, so that they come one step closer, take them, so that not only do we have them in mind, in our head, but we are somehow able to bring them down to the level of feelings, level of experience, so that we have our own personal experiential understanding of these concepts. And that's how we move towards integrating these new ideas into our own life, into our own behavior, into our own habits. Okay, so right effort, the first corner of this triangle. Right effort, the word effort is a very interesting word. A lot of time people feel that they need to work hard or work harder, try harder to be good, especially within a spiritual context, religious context like Buddhism. We're always trying to be a good person or be a better person, or we feel very disappointed with ourselves, we feel a bit depressed that after so many years of studying and meditating, we don't seem to change much. Our old habits are very persistent. So they may go into hiding and dormancy for a while, especially when you're in a holy setting like this meditation hall, you're with a certain crowd of people. But when you go home, when you relax a little bit, you go back into familiar environment, all the old habits just come forth. And we find it can be very disappointing, very distressing also. Right effort in Buddhism doesn't mean that we need to somehow struggle harder, tense up even harder, push harder, use our willpower more. We're just not determined enough. I like right effort in Buddhism. It's very skillful. The Buddha said, what is right effort? There are four aspects to it. For things that are beneficial qualities, beneficial in a tendency that we have not yet manifest. We try to encourage it to come forth. Let's take the example of kindness. Maybe we have not learned to be kind as we grew up. We struggle a lot. There's a lot of things going on in our life. So now what we do in terms of right effort is having learned about it, having recognized it, seeing it in others, also maybe sometimes seeing in ourselves. We want to nurture that kindness, allow it to come forth more, to find ourselves feeling kindness more, motivated by kindness more in action. We want to encourage it to come forth, right? For positive qualities that have not yet arisen, we encourage them to arise, to manifest, And for those that have already arisen and manifest, we want to reinforce them. We want to strengthen them. We want to enhance them. So we know, okay, we have kindness. Occasionally, we are kind. We are able to express that in our speech, in our action, in our thoughts. Wonderful. Can I do more? Can I encourage it more? Can it come forth more? So that is the second aspect of right effort. So for wholesome qualities that are already present in our life, that already manifest, we want to reinforce them. We want to encourage them come up more often, grow greater in strength and in influence, in power. So that is towards so two of them are for wholesome qualities, two are for unwholesome qualities. Unwholesome qualities that are already manifest in our life, we can see them, we can feel their effect. It's not very helpful and even harmful. It increases our pain, our suffering, causes us lots of problems. Can I diminish them? I don't want to reinforce them. I want to diminish them. I want to weaken them. I want them to come up less often, if not completely gone, at least less often. And when they do flare up, can I reduce their amplitude, reduce their intensity, reduce their duration? I'm just sort of weakening them, diminishing them, the unwholesome habits, unwholesome qualities. And for unwholesome qualities or habits that haven't manifest, and they haven't expressed it, wonderful. Don't come forth. That is to try to stop them or prevent them from ever making an appearance. So let's say if I'm at the moment I'm not jealous of anybody, I don't express jealousy, I don't experience jealousy. Wonderful. Let's keep it that way. Let's not give it a chance to even make an appearance or to manifest. So for those that manifest, I'm diminishing their power, their strength, their duration, their intensity, all aspects of them. And for those that are not manifest, I want to keep it that way. I want to keep them unmanifest so that they don't negatively impact me and others. Right? So this is right effort. Notice that it has nothing to do with how long you need to meditate, how hard you need to meditate, how much pain you must endure. No pain, no gain, as it goes. How much sleep you need to forego. It has nothing to do with all those other ways we measure effort. It's very skillful. It's really about doing what is necessary and what is helpful to encourage the growth of the wholesome aspects of ourselves and to discourage and to weaken and diminish the influence of the unwholesome aspects of ourselves. So much so that one grows stronger and become more prominent, and ones go weaker and diminish, and eventually it drop off. It's a little bit like, so the metaphor the Buddha used is very interesting. It's about feeding, this metaphor of feeding food, feeding nutrients. We give nutrients or nutriments and food to the wholesome qualities to encourage them to grow, to encourage them to come forth. And we starve our unwholesome quality. We withdraw sustenance, we withdraw nutriments from them so that they starve. They get weaker and weaker, and eventually they starve to death, so to speak, as the metaphor goes. Yeah. And it's really, for me, it's fantastic. And one simple way we can do it is, what is the nutriment, the sustenance? One way to interpret this is attention. Attention is like energy, and where we put attention is like we plug in an energy source, power source. The more we give attention to one thing, we are flooding it with new energy. We are intensifying, increasing it, growing it. So what do we want to give attention to? What do we want to feed? What do we want to enhance and reinforce? Do you want to enhance the positive things or the negative things? Do you want to enhance the wholesome qualities or the unwholesome habits? You decide. Right? Attention can be seen as focus, but focus is quite a bit more narrow. Attention is really like, we sit here, we're bored, and then your mind starts thinking. What are you thinking about? Thinking is to give attention to some topic, isn't it? So if I keep thinking about things that fuel my anger, I just keep repeating the same old events, or even sometimes we elaborate, right? We recollect the past incidents, we imagine future similar scenarios, and we just sort of steal ourselves, by just going round and round and round with this anger scenario. And that is feeding our anger. Because what happens is the more we do it, the more angry we get. And next time when we encounter a similar situation, it's even more easy to trigger the anger. So this is one way we are feeding our anger. And the advice to do in this situation is to notice that, I'm dwelling on my anger. To see if I can withdraw my attention from, not so much like pushing it away, but just acknowledge, all right, I'm dwelling on my anger, but maybe I can find something else to do, something else that's more helpful or at least less harmful, and channel my energy, attention into it. Maybe I can just simply bring my attention back to here and now, back to what I'm doing, instead of dwelling on the past, dwelling on dwelling on this anger reaction, so to speak. So that's one way we starve our anger by redirecting our attention to something else that is more helpful or wholesome. I think if you want to write, I'm not quite sure this comments. First person experience in the body is undeniable. Maybe you can write in complete sentences so that I know what you are referring to. Then I will be able to respond to you. Okay, so that is right effort, right? And one way to actualize it is how we channel our attention, the energy of attention. Second is right mindfulness. So there are 4 ways of talking about right effort. There's also 4 ways of talking about right mindfulness. Right mindfulness is, to put it in a simple way, mindfulness, of course, is what do we bring to the foreground of our awareness of our mind, so that we notice it, so that we give attention to it. And there are 4 divisions in right mindfulness. Mindfulness of body, which is usually how we start practicing mindfulness, because the body is the most obvious thing. And we return our attention to the body, or we bring bodily experiences to the foreground of our awareness, so that we notice it, so that we are aware of it. In this individual, what one feels in the body is, of course, when I feel angry, I notice the anger in my body. I notice all the reactions, all the different reactions, let's say, associated with anger, be it in the body, in the feelings, in the thoughts. So we don't deny them. That's why I said we are not trying to right effort, which doesn't mean we try to push it away or we deny. We acknowledge that we are angry. But within that, once we are aware, which is where mindfulness comes in, when we are mindful of what's happening, we are mindful of the bodily reaction, the tension, the heating up. We are mindful of the mental reaction, the thoughts, the story, the repeating of those images and stories and words, and mindful of the feelings, the feeling we associate with anger. Once we are mindful of it, we acknowledge, okay, that's how I'm feeling, that's what's happening. But I have a choice with awareness. Do I want to continue to dwell on that? Do I want to continue to fuel my anger? I mean, I can't help the fact that I'm getting angry. But with practice, what we can do is we can decide for ourselves, do I want to allow my attention to continue to be involved in this anger reactions? Because the more I pay attention, the more I dwell on those thoughts, the stronger the anger will get, or the more persistent the anger will be. And with mindfulness, it allows us an opportunity to apply right effort. I can say, oh, I think I'm getting angry, but maybe I don't really want to continue. I don't deny I'm angry, but I don't want to continue doing that. No, I want to, let's say I have a work that I need to finish. So I'm going to invite my attention. Come on now, step out of that storytelling mode. Just come back and pay attention to what is happening here and now. Or pay attention to what is this person in front of you trying to tell you. So by channeling my attention differently, I am feeding hopefully something more wholesome, more beneficial, more in touch with reality, and I'm starving so that I'm weakening my anger reactions. Do you mean, for example, focus on breath as a function of the body? No, that's why I don't use the word focus. Focus is a very narrow word. Always focus on the breath, focus on the body. It's a more holistic way of looking at the whole situation. Just notice what is happening. Notice the anger effect more than the breath. Anger effect bodily tension. Usually we get quite tense, even in the face. The feelings, there are certain characteristic feelings arise. There's very characteristic thought patterns. The mind just go zoom, 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 zoom. Yeah. So we become mindful of all these different reactions that we are experiencing. And then we channel our attention differently. Previously, we simply allow our attention to be sucked into this vortex of reactivity. Now that we are aware, and now that we apply right effort, we take that attention and invite the attention to focus or to place the attention on something else. Hopefully something that is relevant in this moment, here and now, to our reality, relevant to what is happening here and now. Sometimes as simple as coming back to this moment and suddenly recognizing that I'm all alone in this hall, that argument that I have with that person is not here. What I'm thinking about has happened in the past or may happen in the future, but it's not happening in this moment. In this moment, I'm all alone here. I can feel myself sitting here. I can see the computer in front of me. I can feel my breath. So I come back this moment, come back to the reality of this moment, and decide for myself what is the more beneficial thing to do with my attention in this moment. To continue to go back to my anger reaction, or to focus and, like, for example, now I'm giving a talk, bring my attention back here so that I can channel my energy and give a better talk, to be more present, to do this work, this present job better. So that is the combination of effort and mindfulness. Mindfulness, there are 4 aspects. Mindful of body, which is usually the most obvious. It's easier to notice changes in the body. Mindfulness of feelings. Feeling in this context are not emotions, but something more simple. Mindful of pleasant experience, whether the experience itself is pleasant or unpleasant or neither. Neither means you can't quite place it as, you can't quite say it's nice or it's not nice. It's just sort of neutral, neither this or that. Yeah. So just noticing that quality of pleasantness or unpleasantness or neutrality, or comfort, discomfort, neutrality, or pleasure, pain, and neutrality is the second aspect of mindfulness. It's very important because we are, unbeknown to us, we are very much influenced by this aspect of our experience, the so-called feeling aspects. We are drawn to pleasantness. We tend to push away or recoil for unpleasantness, and we tend to lose interest. We find it very hard to stay engaged with neutrality. So the very fact that how we feel have a very immediate effect on how we use our attention. It's something good to bring into awareness. Third is mindfulness of the mind itself, the state of mind. Sometimes our mind is very bright, very alert, very present. It's good to know that, oh, I think I'm working very well today. Other times our mind is very dark, foggy, very slow, sometimes very error prone, or other times the mind is very agitated, full of energy, but very restless. So to be aware of the state of the mind. That's the third aspect of mindfulness. The fourth aspect of mindfulness is usually called mindfulness of Dharma, which is a Sanskrit word, which has many meanings. This one is the one that is a bit difficult to interpret. One way to interpret this word Dharma is as phenomena, just in general phenomena, but more particularly factors, things, factors that influence us, that impact our mind and body. So sometimes we call them mental factors. So to be mindful of the different mental factors or mental objects, things that have particularly impact on the functioning of ourselves, of our mind. So anger is one of those factors, to be aware whether am I getting angry, which means I come under the influence of anger. And usually I try not to make major decisions when I'm angry because the anger is somehow distorting my thinking, in a certain way. Or am I quite free of anger? So this is good to know. We want to be mindful of both when the presence of anger and the absence of anger, which is just as important. Other states of mind that are not helpful, or apart from anger, is of course what normally we call craving or attachment. Third one is ignorance or confusion, whether we come under the influence of ignorance or we are not under the influence of ignorance. Ignorance, in a simple way, we can think of it as closed-mindedness, where the mind is very closed, not open to consider new possibilities, new ideas, very stuck in our way, very fixated on whatever it is that we have accepted. So it's this closed-mindedness is one way we can interpret the word ignorance. So these are the four aspects of mindfulness. Mindful of body, of feelings, of mind, and of mental objects or mental factors. So this is one way of interpreting them. And the simple way is just to become more and more present and aware of the different aspects of ourselves, of our own experience from one moment to another. Why is it important? With greater awareness, we really know and really see for ourselves what is here, and what is impacting me, what is influencing me in my choices. So the more we are aware, the more we are able to intervene and we are able to make positive change. If we are completely oblivious to how we are impacted and influenced by all these different habits within us, by our feelings, by the different kind of aspects that have impact on us, if we are oblivious to it, then there's no way we can make changes, because we don't even know what are the conditions that are prompting me to behave in this way rather than that. I'm unaware of what my system is building up towards. Without that awareness, we cannot address the situation, we cannot target the problem, therefore we are not able to come up with appropriate solution. So mindfulness is very important, and these days, with all this research and all this interest in the topic of mindfulness, even in the secular setting, we can see that more and more people are uncovering the many different ways we can apply mindfulness and how it can be helpful to us. Of course, it's important not to think of mindfulness as the ultimate universal solution to everything. It's not a panacea for all our problems. It also has its own limitation. But relatively speaking, being mindful is always, no, I shouldn't say always, it's more often better than being mindless. Being aware is quite often better than to be unaware. So that is where right mindfulness play its part in training of the mind and transforming our mind. So right effort, right mindfulness. And the last factor, right samadhi, or I sometimes translate as the right mind of unified mind, the mind of unification. Unified in this case is the opposite of being fragmented, being in opposition with one another, within itself, in conflict. So it describes a state of mind in which everything works harmoniously, properly, together as a team. And so in this mind is very powerful, because this mind there's no conflict, there's no backstabbing, no power struggle within. So all the resources, all the functions are all working together to achieve whatever goal or objective we set for ourselves. So when we are in this state, when we are able to access this state, you'll find that the mind is, the classic word is, the mind is serviceable. It's able, it's ready to perform service for us, whatever our objective may be. It's very pliant, very malleable, and we can easily direct it to do whatever it is we want. And it will comply, it will support us, and it will reveal to us, such a great resource we have within ourselves. A lot of people who experience great success, if you were to look at their characteristics or traits, you find that one aspect of it is commonly we say they're very concentrated. Sometimes people we say they're very driven, or we say they're very focused. So words like driven, focused, concentrate. They are very clear where they want to go and how to, and then put all their energy, all the focus, all the energy, and just keep at it. So that is unified mind. Mind and heart are the same word in Buddhism. In English, it seems like one is head and heart. But actually, the word mind or consciousness in Buddhism comprise both of them, both the intellect and the emotions. The head and the heart are unified. And so, unfortunately, in English, we don't have a word. We don't want to keep saying heart, mind. So we just use the word mind. But the mind actually includes the heart, includes the feelings, includes the love, the compassion. So they're all encompassed together. And this is unification, and they will all work harmoniously. Head and heart, intellect and emotions are all nothing in between. Just one thing. Mind, consciousness, heart is just one thing, one whole thing. Don't have to cut them into half and then separate them and then try to join them. It's just one whole totality of our inner experiences. We can view them. There are different parts of it, different aspects of it, but we can view them all functioning together. And that is right samadhi. Why are these three factors so important? It's because this is the mental action aspect, mental activity aspect of ourselves. So we have speech, which is verbal action, verbal activity. We have behavior, this is a physical action. And our livelihood is involved, of course, both verbal and physical. But there's another component that's just as important in terms of action, in terms of our expressing, trying to enact whatever intention we have. That is the mental activity. Mental activity which involve our thoughts, our creativity, our dreams, our fantasies, our planning, our memories, our remembering, the whole diverse activity of ourselves. And we also must bring them on board in our spiritual transformation. We must also take care of it. Not only do we take care of what we say, or how we communicate with others, take care of the kind of actions or behavior we engage in, the kind of job we are doing. We also must take care of the mind or the mental activity, to make sure that all these are harmonized together. Then and only then will we be able to actualize the Four Noble Truths, the third Because this is the fourth, this is the path leading to the end of suffering. And it's by harmonizing body, speech, and mind that we are able to bring about the effect once. We put an end to the cause of our suffering and find within our own experience the opposite, the peace of mind, the peace and the sense of ease and freedom, the release from suffering as well as the causes of suffering. So that's why the last three is the training of the mind. We have to train our mind. At the moment, for those who meditate, you know how undisciplined our mind is and how powerful our whole habits of the mind, when they are triggered, when they arise, they easily can take over our attention. They easily drag our mind here and there. If we have a propensity towards depression, we can find when it's triggered, we will have episodes in which the mind plunge deep into the darkness, the dark pits of depressions. Or those of us who suffer or struggle with anxiety, when anxiety is triggered, of course not consciously, but subconscious, unconscious, when it's triggered, we can see how powerful it is. It affects our body, affect our mind, affect our emotions, it affects all aspects of ourselves. So in order for us to work with all these different states, we need to bring attention to not just the speech, not just the body, not just the choice of life, livelihood, lifestyle, but also, more importantly, also what is going on inside us, inside our mind, inside our heart, and to nurture something that is beneficial. Okay, so that is a very quick explanation of these last three factors of the Noble Eightfold Path. So how to stop when we find ourselves caught up in the reactivity? So similarly, how do we bring the mind back to balance in the state of samadhi when the mind is not in balance? When some of our reactivity is triggered, it's sort of skewed to one side, isn't it? When anxiety is triggered, we go off one anger, or when we suffer from depression, the mind went another way. These are mind and body not in balance, not able to in balance, in touch with reality, not able to function effectively to deal with reality, and instead find it so hard, so caught up in the reactions, the strong reactions that's coming forth within our own body and mind and hearts. So how do we change that? How do we stop that reactivity, stop that looping, the vortex, and come back to balance, come back to a more harmonious state of functioning? Of course, it's a challenge, and that's why the three factors. First is usually it's easier to start with mindfulness. First is mindfulness, to be aware that we are triggered, to be aware that, I think, it's all so familiar, it's the same old reactivity is here, to be aware, right? So awareness is the first, then effort is also another aspect. Then to learn ways in which we, to stop us from feeding that old reactivity, feeding, and to feed something different, to encourage a different way of dealing with the situation, a different way to respond to those situations. And finally, with samadhi, right samadhi, is to build up, how can I say, immunity, you may say, to build up and reinforce this very healthy state of mind, of mental functioning, in which the mind, more and more the mind is able to function in this state of samadhi, in this state of balance. It's like, in the chemical terms, we have a buffer. So a buffer is such that when we encounter change, and the buffer is able to accommodate that change without being skewed, taken to extreme. It's able to maintain a certain range of normalcy or balanced functioning, even though we encounter different changes, and and without being sort of topple over to imbalance, right? So you can think of, I think of samadhi as building up immunity, so that we can stay healthy, balanced, and in touch with reality, even when we are confronted by changes. Yeah, so we want to stop feeding all the unhelpful habits and start to feed and encourage the helpful one. So, and that's why we need to apply all three of them, right effort, right mindfulness, and right samadhi. Okay, and I want to do a meditation together to explore in a very brief way. I mean, each of these can. In Monday class, I'm doing cultivating effortless mindfulness, and I think I have 9 sessions just on mindfulness, and that's just scratching the surface of the cultivation and development of mindfulness. It can go on and on. So, and likewise with developing samadhi, unified mind, and likewise with effort. There are many things to do it, and all I'm doing here is just to drop some points and ideas in your mind and try to alert you to explore this in greater details on your own. So let's look at meditation. How in this next meditation we do, how we embodied, at least very briefly, those 3 factors. This next meditation is a karma abiding meditation. Karma abiding or shamatha is another word that's very related to samadhi. It's almost like they are siblings or cousins. Karma abiding or shamatha is a more limited, more narrow word, usually defined as a state of meditative absorption experience in meditation, whereas I use the word samadhi in the broader context. But nonetheless, they're very closely related. Yeah. So how can we help the mind and body to calm them of all these different unhelpful tendencies and agitations and disturbance, so that both body and mind can actually abide on whatever it is we are dealing with, and to do so peacefully, harmoniously, and even blissfully sometimes. So, and in this meditation, we explore a few points which are related to right effort and right mindfulness. The first thing we do is we create conditions, conditions that are favorable for whatever it is we want to achieve. The first conditions for karma abiding meditation is the posture. Appropriate choice of a suitable posture go a long way to help us to settle in meditation and to experience stillness in meditation. So posture, conditions. Second is, the second conditions is how can I facilitate the settling down of body and mind in meditation. So facilitate to feed, to channel the energy in this direction to allow body and mind to settle down. What are the conditions? Here is mindfulness of the body. Through mindful awareness of the body, I reconnect the body with the mind. And as they come back together, they connect and they have more healthy interactions. Our body and mind have their own wisdom and intelligence. They can re-establish a state of balance if we just help them to connect, so that the information is not somehow truncate, and they pass the information back and forth, and then the mind say, oh, you know what? There's no danger here. The awful person is not here. I'm not in that terrible situation. And the body say, oh, well, good. I'll relax. I'll just let go of all these tensions and tightness and just comfortably settle down. All right. So mindfulness of the body is a conditions that really help us to settle down, help us to promote this sense of something called the relaxation response, which is that let go of the stress reactions and come back to baseline, to a state of more healthy functioning. And the third conditions we explore is how to help the mind to settle down when the mind occasionally may be caught up in all this reactivity. How to help the mind to settle down. And the way to help the mind to settle down is through mindfulness of pleasant feelings. Right? The mind is agitated when it is uncertain, it's unsure, it is in fear, it is with anxiety. But when the mind encounters pleasant feelings in the context of meditation, that pleasant feeling is very reassuring. The fact that I feel more comfortable, more relaxed, is an indication that, hey, everything is all right in this meditation. And that really goes a long way to reassure the mind. The mind says, oh, maybe I don't need to react so strongly. Maybe I can slow down. Maybe I can let go of that agitation. I can let go of that anger for the moment because it's not needed. Everything is all right. Why do I need to get angry when everything is all right? So this is the 3 conditions we're going to explore in this meditation. And you, as we meditate, we can see for ourselves how these 3 factors come into play. Mindfulness, the energy of our attention, how we direct it towards this and away from that, and whether we may experience as a part of that meditation a similitude of that state of samadhi, of body and mind as they let go of the different reactivity, can start to function together a little bit more harmoniously. And how does that feel like? Okay, so let's do meditation together and just see what we find in our own experience. So I invite you to find, first condition, a suitable posture. And for that, we do need to tune in and decide for ourselves. We want to, like me, sitting on a chair, or you want to sit on the floor, or sometimes it might be helpful to lie down, lie on your back in a supine position. The posture does have quite a strong impact on our meditative experience. So choice of suitable posture go a long way to support our meditation. So if you choose the posture, take care to make sure the posture does not introduce additional discomfort or tension into your body. There's no need to make yourself uncomfortable through choosing the inappropriate posture. So while you do that, I'm going to ring this bell to signal the start of the meditation. In the meditation posture, see if we can allow our body some time to adjust itself, to find its way into and settle into the posture. Take care that you place your hands and arms on some kind of support so that they are supported and you don't have to tense up your shoulder or arm muscles during the meditation to somehow hold up your arms in some special way. Feel free to close your eyes completely if you find that helpful, or if you are more used to having your eyes open or half open during meditation, that is also perfectly fine. We can start by becoming aware of the sensations coming through at the points of contact between our body and our seat, our body and the floor, the ground. At those points of contact, see if we can notice that the body is resting on support that feels stable, firm, and solid. This goes a long way to reassure the body that in this posture it is well balanced, well supported, and safe. And when that message filters into the body, into the brain, it really goes a long way to encourage the body to loosen up, to unwind a bit. Maybe it does not need to be so tense, so tight. And the body can automatically start to let go of some of the contractions, some of the unnecessary tightenings of the muscles in the body. And this will go a long way to help the body to settle more and more comfortably into the posture. So that's the first step, which I call acquiring a seat for our body in meditation. Next, we're going to practice mindfulness of the body. I'm going to invite you, just with a light touch, no need to tense up, no need to put extra effort, just by channeling the energy of your attention. Invite your attention to come back and to be in touch with the sensations at the different parts of your body, starting at the crown. Just a light touch, so that you suddenly become aware of sensations at the crown, maybe a little bit of tingling sensations there, a slight feeling of pressure, could be warmth, could be coolness, or maybe you don't feel anything at all, which is perfectly fine. And then channel the energy of your attention, invite to flow downwards into the face so that you are in touch with your own face. How are you feeling here at the face? Do you notice whether you are tensing up any of the facial muscles, tensing up those of the forehead, or the jaw, or the muscles around the eyes? And see if you can, as we have more conscious control over facial muscles, see if we can release some of those tension. Let in a feeling of softness into our own face. Allow the whole face to feel more at ease, more comfortable, more relaxed. Then we let attention continue downwards. We continue to practice mindfulness of body. We continue to channel the energy of our attention. In this case, to be in touch with the neck, the throat. We don't have to try very hard. We just come back and notice the sensations here, at the neck, at the throat, and also at the shoulders. How are our shoulders feeling today? Maybe we notice tightness, tension, and uncomfortable feelings at the shoulder, which are quite common. See if we can simply acknowledge that and just let them be for the moment. We continue and feel free to move at your own pace. Allow attention to move down both arms so that we are aware of sensations in both arms, starting from the shoulder joints. Notice sensations at the upper arms. Simple sensations, nothing unusual or extraordinary. Just the sensations of the touch of the fabric of your clothes against the skin. Be aware, be mindful of the muscle tone in your arms and any other sensations, tingling sensations. Notice subtle sensations at the elbows as well. And continue at your own pace into the forearms, into the hands, the palms, the fingers. Reconnecting our mind with our own body, channeling the energy of our attention so that we are mindful of our own body here and now. And we invite our attention to come back to the body if we do get distracted, which is also a very normal thing for the mind to do. Just invite the attention to come back now to the chest so that we notice the sensations at the chest. Notice the sensations of the breath, the movement of the chest as we breathe in and out. Maybe we notice the beating of our own heart. Notice sensations both at the front as well as the back of the body. Continue downwards at your own pace. Be aware of sensations at the abdomen, the outside, the inside, the front and the back. And then continue downwards to the pelvis so that we are aware of sensations here. Really notice the weight of the pelvis resting on our seat. And we continue practicing mindfulness of body, reconnecting the mind, attention with bodily experience. Now we continue down both legs, starting from the hip joints. Notice sensations in the upper legs, all the way to the knees. As I mentioned, just channeling the attention without much effort. Don't feel that we need to try hard. And definitely we don't need to tense up our body. Don't have to contract the muscles of the body in order to do so. From the knees, let attention travel down towards the ankles. Notice sensations as we go. And then let attention flow into both feet so that we are aware of sensations at the soles of the feet, at the top of the feet, sensations in the toes. So now that we reconnect mind with body to mindfulness of the body, we rechannel the energy of our attention. Maybe we notice along the way how the body may respond to this shift in attention. Maybe now, maybe later, you find that the body might start to release and let go of at least some of those tension and tightness. We unwind some of the winding, tensing up, tightening. And when that happens, see if we can also be mindful of any pleasant feelings that come forth, feeling of relaxation, of ease and comfort. And when you do notice those feelings, however subtle they may be, can you welcome them into your awareness, give them the energy of your attention, and be mindful of pleasant feelings coming out of your meditation. We rest our body in this posture, allow the body plenty of time to continue to settle down, to get comfortable, to be more at ease in the posture. We rest our mind, our attention with the body, here and now in the present moment. If you are familiar with the breath sensations, you might want to channel your attention onto the breath so that you are more aware of the breath sensations, of your in-breath and out-breath. Otherwise, you can simply practice being mindful of what is happening here and now in your meditation. Be aware of the sounds in the surrounding, the different bodily sensations coming and going, changing, tensing, relaxing. Be aware of the breath along the way, breathing in and out. Be aware of feelings, pleasant feelings, unpleasant feelings. So rest the body in the posture, rest the mind, the attention in this moment, here and now, be it on the breath or anything else happening here and now. Don't forget to be mindful of any pleasant sensations, however mild they may be, however faint that they may be. Welcome them into your awareness. Enjoy them while they last, and let them go when they fade away. And then notice whether, as we continue with the meditation, whether are we helping body and mind to come into balance, help body and mind to let go of unnecessary reactions, reactivities, so that they can both function harmoniously together in the state of samadhi. And throughout the meditation, if you do notice our attention is distracted, is drawn away from here and now, away from the body, from the breath, into thoughts of the past or future, into worries, into inner commentary. See if we can acknowledge them, acknowledge these old habits of ours without being upset or being frustrated, and practice right effort. Simply invite our attention, invite the energy of our attention to come back here and now, and place it on the body, on the breath, on the present moment. So, when we become mindful, the attention is drawn into most likely thoughts, could be thoughts of the past, could be thoughts of the future, could also be drawn into fantasy, daydreaming, or maintaining some kind of inner dialogue, inner commentary. Most important is not to be upset by it, not to react negatively towards what we find in ourselves. See if we can simply acknowledge that this is a habit of our mind to be distracted, to be drawn into these different thoughts, different ideas. And once we are mindfully aware of it, we can simply practice right efforts. We channel the energy or attention, we invite it to come back here and now, maybe to the breath, maybe to some bodily sensations, to the sounds. Just come back to be in touch with reality. And by being patient and by being applying right effort skillfully, we are able to eventually shift, strengthen all the wholesome qualities, wholesome habits, and weaken and even eventually stopping all the unwholesome qualities and habits. So coming back to this moment, to the body, to the breath, to the sounds in the surrounding. Also see if you do not forget to appreciate any kind of pleasant feelings that come out of the meditation, however slight or mild they may be. Even just a slight release of tension in the face, the softening of the face, accompanied by an increased sense of ease, relaxation, and comfort. Appreciate that mild, pleasant feelings as a part of meditation goes a long way to help the mind to settle down. Coming back to this moment as we continue with our meditation, see if we can nurture the mind of right samadhi, a mind and body as well. They're able to function harmoniously which all the different aspects of it are working together in balance, not in conflict, not in opposition. See if we can incline our meditation towards this direction, not immediately, but working towards it, harmonizing the different functions, recognizing which one are helpful, and giving them more of the energy of our attention, acknowledging whichever are not so helpful, and withdrawing the energy of our attention from them. And then finally, I invite you to check in, to evaluate and notice the states of your body and mind at the end of the meditation. Highlight any positive features you notice in relation to the body, any sense of relaxation, the physical relaxation, the release of physical tension and tightness, the presence of any comfortable feelings. Checking also on the mind. What is the state of the mind? What is the quality of the attention? What are the factors, wholesome or unwholesome, might be present with the mind? Again, try to highlight some positive features you can find. Then we gathered up all these positive aspects that come out of the meditation practice. We give them a direction. We dedicate this positive momentum towards the fulfillment of our wishes and aspirations for ourselves and for others. In a more simple way, we can dedicate that may anything positive or beneficial that come out of this meditation, we dedicate that may they stay with us, may they linger in body and mind to help us form new beneficial habits so that they can continue to benefit us. Okay, so let me try to conclude by referring back to, I think it's important to take this eightfold path, these 8 different factors, and bring them together and see them relative to the 4 noble truths. After all, the Noble Eightfold Path is the 4th noble truth, the truth of the path, the way or the method to bring about the cessation of suffering by putting an end to putting a stop to the causes of suffering. So in the in the 4 noble truths, we talk about suffering. The first noble truth, we talk about the origin or the source of the suffering. Here in this context, usually summarized by the word craving, this holding, this attachment, clinging. And then we talk about in the 3rd noble truth that it is possible, possible to experience the cessation of suffering by ceasing, by stopping the cause. When craving stops, the corresponding suffering also stops. Yeah. And then the 4th noble truth offers us a means to actualize that, the Noble Eightfold Path. So if we just briefly scan through the 8 factors, so we can think, so the path, the method is to, first of all, try to cultivate and uncover for ourselves this different perspective, the right view, and building on that new perspective to enhance the intention of kindness, of compassion, and renunciation. And then to express this in speech, right speech, in behavior, right action, and in terms of in livelihood, and then how we make a living, how we support ourselves and our family, and also not just speech and behavior, also in terms of the mind. So that in this year there are 3 factors to work on: right effort, right mindfulness, right samadhi. And it's almost like saying we start off with right view, right intention, and that filter into our speech, our behavior, our mind. And in turn, because we manifest it through speech, through bodily actions, through mental activities, this feedback and supports and reinforce our right view and right intention, strengthen them so that they become, we are more familiar with them, we become more habituated to them, they grow in strength to start to displace our old way of viewing things, our old habits, other intention, anger, attachment, jealousy. We start to displace these unwholesome qualities. So much so that as we cycle through these 8 factors, eventually we find within ourselves, this radical change. Start off from a shift in perspective, but find the change, not a change in heart, in the intention, so to speak, change in the manner of speech, change in the behavior, change in the mental activities we find ourselves engaged in. And through that, we actually notice a diminishing in suffering, a diminishing of suffering through diminishing the source of suffering, the craving, the different tendency of craving or holding, or the other way of looking at it, diminishing in attachment or greed, in hatred, and in ignorance or closed-mindedness. And as all this diminish, we witness for ourselves the truth of the Buddha's teaching. Hey, I actually suffer less. I'm a happier person. I'm more relaxed. I'm more at ease. I find more and more moments in my life where it's filled with peace, is motivated with positive qualities of kindness, and compassion, and renunciations. And so I find this teaching, this part of the presentation of the Buddha's teaching, usually we call it the medium scope of the 4 Noble Truths, the Noble Eightfold Path, absolutely practical and relevant to our practice, our day-to-day experience. So really good to not just study them, think about them in an intellectual way, but to see whether in our daily life we are able to actualize them. And we do it for our own benefit so that we get to reap the benefit, the reward of that, which is an increasing sense of peace, of freedom from old habits, painful habits, and to find that more and more we get to experience feelings of joy, of happiness, of contentment. And personally, I really believe that this is true. Not just believe, but I actually feel that I have experienced a small measure of it in my own life, in my own experience, which is helps to verify it and helps to increase my conviction in the validity of this teaching. So I hope that is true for you as well, and that maybe this give you, maybe by this class, remind you what you already know, and encourage you to, as appropriate, to try to put some of these things into practice. Yeah. Any last questions or comments? Because next week I'm moving on. I'm always moving on to another topic, another module. I think it's called the Good Heart. We focus more on the quality of kindness and compassion, which I only briefly touch on at this moment, and really look at the wealth of resources that in the Buddha's teaching that help us focus on these qualities and learn to enhance them, to cultivate them, and make this altruistic intention more and more a reality for ourselves. Or sometimes we just call it the good hearts, and also be able to see the benefits that come out of cherishing and having good hearts. Okay, so that's all I have for this module, and thank you very much for your attention this evening. And I hope to see you next week with the new module on altruism, on the good heart. And I wish you to have a good week ahead. Stay well and safe. Even though COVID is maybe diminishing in cases, but still it's good to stay safe. And see you next time. Good night.